I know this has been a very long series and it's been a little hectic this year. I'm done. I'm done. Hey guys, welcome to the video. Welcome to the channel. Today, I don't want to jinx it. I'm gonna jinx it, but today might be my final day with concrete. With the mason blocks, with the footers and the rebars and digging. Today's the day. We'll see. Okay, so today what are we gonna do? Basically, the mason blocks are done. I'll show that to you in just a second, but I need to core fill. What is core filling? Basically, the blocks themselves are not super strong. The blocks are just, if you think about, I guess an egg is a bad example, but let's go with it. If you think about an egg without the shell is just the yolk running around everywhere, right? It has nothing to hold it in its egg shape. And that's basically what the mason blocks are. They are the shell. The core fill, that is the yolk. That defines the columns that are actually holding a good bit of the weight of the structure. But in order to build those columns, we basically have to use this mason block. Now, the mason blocks are not for nothing. They do help. It helps to hold everything together. It gives you some vertical strength. It helps to distribute the weight, the compression that's happening on those core-filled columns. But if you think about it, if you were to take away the mason blocks and you were just to imagine just the filled cores, you're basically building piers. And so that's how these constructions tend to work, is the building is actually sitting on, quote, piers, but the mason block is helping to hold some of that weight. It's helping to distribute the weight over a much wider surface. We got some hawks overhead. I don't know if you can hear it. So that's what we're gonna do today. We're gonna focus on mixing up some concrete, filling these cores. I've got some cuts of rebar that I'm just gonna jam in there. And the rebar is really just to give these columns a little bit of lateral strength. Oh, I also have a couple blocks in the corner because I might have told you already. Of course, every DIY project, I missed it by one block. Got this entire wall done, missed it by one block. By the way, do you think the rain catchment system is working? You tell me. It's above the drain line, so it's literally been overflowing. That gives you some thought into how much rain we actually get here. Managing the rainfall is going to be a pretty important step, but I'm glad to see this because I'm going to need it today. I don't have one of those concrete vibrators, so this is the best I can do. I just need to work it into the corners and get those air bubbles out to ensure that this concrete is as solid as possible. And then that guy can disappear. And finally, I got a couple pieces of scrap wood I'm just using to make sure that those don't sink too far into the concrete while it sets up. Once it's hard enough, I'll pull these out and I'll keep using them for the rest of the wall. All right, let's keep going. Oh, by the way, there is like a black widow nesting ground out here. I don't know if it's because this is wooded area, or used to be just recently, and I'm kind of disturbing their home, or maybe it's just this part of the county. I don't know, man. It's bad. I've seen silver dollar sized black widows, just nasty, nasty looking things. And the only reason why I mention is because I spotted another one. I'll show you real quick. I don't know if you can see it. It's hard to tell. There's so many shadows, but there's a beetle struggling in a web there. And right next to it, black widow. That's probably the fourth one I've seen in the last 2 weeks. So I'm just super paranoid. I'm being very careful as I walk through these piles and random pieces of concrete. And I picked up a block once and it had one on there, so now I'm like turning the blocks over 3 times just to make sure there's none crawling on them. They're everywhere out here. Between the ticks and the black widows, I don't think nature wants me out here. You might notice I have these pieces of rebar resting against the wall. I use those to mark which holes I had left open, or which cores I had left open and which I actually need to fill. Keep in mind, the cores that you're filling, we're putting anchor bolts into these, and we need them at very specific locations, at least no more than 4 feet apart, and they have to be within, I think it's 12 inches or so within the ends of the board. And you have to kind of know how long your sill plate is going to be, because wherever your sill plate, between two 2x8s in this case, but that block is going to need anchor bolts and core fill on both sides. I've seen some people put anchors between the blocks in this little hollow space. Look, I'm no mason, but that seems crazy. There's like no concrete here. The only concrete here is the size of the block, which means you're trying to hold down the sill plate and the rest of the building structure with about 1.5 inches of concrete, when all you had to do was move it over about 4 inches and you could hold it down with a literal ton of concrete, because this column is tied in with everything else, with the rebar that goes all the way down and the rebar that's into the footers and everything else. You're gonna have to lift the whole building before this thing moves. Don't put the anchors here. That seems silly. Put it in there to about the depth I want. Give it a little turn. About a 1/4 inch turn. Oh, there we go. We'll just keep an eye on it. And for good measure, let's make sure we got enough room here. That's the 2x4, and got a little bit of room there for the washer and the bolt. All right, moving on. I'm drenched. It is warm out here. Let me show you where I've gotten, and then I'm going to take a water break. Okay, so this was the corner that we started in. Remember what I was talking about earlier, how you got to make sure that they're at least within 4 feet of each other, and that you have them at the ends of the 2x sill plates that you're going to be putting there. So there's 2 anchor bolts right here because this is going to be one board. This will be another board. That'll be a 12-foot board that goes to about there. That board ends there. A new board begins here. So I need another anchor bolt. Again, within 4 feet of each other, all the way down the line until I get to here. That board ends there. The next board starts here, and it's going to go across here until it gets to roughly about here. I haven't filled this in yet, of course, but there will be 2 anchor bolts there. There will be an 8-foot here and an 8-foot there. So I'm going to go ahead, take a quick water break, keep working at it. It's slightly overcast today, which is nice. I'm just worried it's going to rain, but there's no rain in the forecast. Let's go, weatherman. Be right just once. I think I'm gonna die. I don't think I'm being dramatic. Who chooses masonry? I gotta know. Leave a comment down below. When you were little, did you think to yourself, I want to pick up heavy rocks for the rest of my life? Good news, guys. I'm done. I'm done with all of the cementitious materials. I'm done. Thank you, baby Jesus. All right, let me show you what's up. So as you can see, we've got all the anchors in all the way around. I have some extras here. That was just in case I had extra concrete. I would have just filled a couple cores just to get rid of it, but I had just enough. And then obviously that was the last block that I was missing. I went ahead and filled it with concrete because I had some. And I figured since it's a half block, filling that core will strengthen it up. I was going to start backfilling today, but it is hot. Hot, hot, hot. So I'll have to come out here in the morning sometime before the heat really starts to hit and the gnats and everything start coming out, and see if I can start backfilling with some of the dirt I have sitting around here. Other than that, I'll say we're done. So I guess that's pretty much it for today. I appreciate you guys hanging out and sticking it out with me. I know this has been a very long series and it's been a little hectic this year. I appreciate it, and I appreciate the new subscribers too. I've noticed that's been climbing pretty fast recently, and I appreciate it. That means people I guess they like what I'm doing, so that's always fun. I would have done this anyways, but I appreciate that you guys enjoy it, and hopefully you learn something from it. If nothing else, at least you're entertained by my misery. As always, you guys be good. I'll see you on the next one. I need a drink.